Hello folks, this is Tom from anti-proton.com. This is not one of my big time videos I do with like a single point where I go on and on and on. This is kind of one of those little talky videos, you know, the ones that people post where they talk about stuff and it's kind of meaningless ramble. But some of you have actually said you like these for some reason. Apparently they're fun or something, I don't know. I get the absolute most flame on these videos. Let me explain why. The reason I get the most is because I usually say lots of different things, and I'll say some controversial things. And here's what happens, and you know who you are. One of you will be going along. Most of you will like it, you know, because you're like, you know, nice people and stuff. One of you will be going along, and you'll see something. You'll hear me say something. And then, bam, you will just slam flame at me and flame at me and flame at me. And it gets really annoying after a while. So I'll be curious to see which one of you it is this time. And for the record, the majority of you who come and look at the videos don't do that. So thank you for not doing that. By the way, just to let you know the difference between flame and criticism. There's nothing wrong with critiquing something. If I say something wrong, I said it wrong. You can correct me. I mean, you know, what the hell? Free speech and everything. Well, actually, free speech doesn't protect me from flame. Actually, flame is part of free speech. But it's crappy speech, and you want to rise above just the minimum standards, right? I mean, come on, you don't want to be at the baseline with all the other trolls and flame. And just for the record, why would trolls produce flame anyway? Trolls are supposed to historically hate flame. Anyway, strange. So, a couple announcements and some misconceptions I wanted to clear up. Just random stuff I saw on the internet, just random things I'm watching on the internet and thinking to myself, my God, people think this? But anyway, first off, I bought a Ludlum Model 12. That is not a Model 3. That's the one you always see, the big Ludlum, you know, with the dial on it and everything, and the dial and the little hand thing. The 12 is the same looking kind of unit, but it's actually better. It's good for scintillation. You know I love scintillation. I love Geiger counters. Love Geiger counters, but I like scintillation the best. I got a 44-2. That is a 1-inch sodium iodide thallium dope probe to go on it. Its background is 1,800 counts per minute, plus or minus. That's going to be awesome. But here's the problem. I like Ludlum, right? They're awesome, except for this one problem. They have a 40-day wait time on this thing. Oh my God, 40 days? What are they, like, going out into the fields and finding the raw ore to make it and processing it by hand and like somebody's sculpting the dials? I don't know what takes so long to make it. I'm still liking them so far because they're really nice other than this, and they apparently have the world's best unit. It's kind of expensive, but I mean, it could stop a bullet. We will see if it is worth 40 days. I've already called with my disappointment at this, especially for the price. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. But anyway, all right, let's clear up some misconceptions. Oh yeah, by the way, my uranium trip, I was going to go to a uranium mine. Well, that's going to have to wait now because my freaking Ludlum's not built. So I won't be going to a uranium mine anytime soon, probably like late June. Oh, come on. Why can't it be done sooner? 40 days. Oh my God. But anyway, let's get into some weirdo misconceptions. Misconception number 1. I keep hearing people complaining about carbon dating. People have this bizarre notion. Carbon dating is only one of many different radiometric dating methods. You cannot use all radiometric dating methods for all things. For example, if I were to go to a volcano, right, that blew up a year ago, and I were to grab some samples and do carbon dating on those samples, they could come back as being 1,000,000 years old. They could come back as being 1,000 years old, all over the place, because you don't use carbon dating for like volcanoes, for example. And in fact, carbon dating is only good for probably 5 or 6 generations of the half-life of carbon-14. So it's not really good for long-term use. If you're going to do long-term, you want to use something like potassium-argon dating or uranium date. You can date between the type isotopes of uranium and stuff. The point of the matter is, people misconceive this all the time. They misconceive. I think I just said. Been a long day. They misconceive. Weird. I did it again. Apparently, I've had a really long day. Like the driver software between brain and mouth is melted down. But they screw this up all the time. Kind of like I'm screwing up my wording right there. So like me, they do. Anyhow. So just keep that in mind. You shouldn't use the word carbon dating because that's only one type of dating, and there's lots and lots of other types that are out there, and they're not all wrong, and they haven't been proven wrong. Science occasionally figures out a way to make them more accurate, and they plus and minus a little bit like that, but not very much each time. And quite frankly, they've been really accurate for a long time. And there's been a couple types that have actually been removed, that have been deleted, if you like, expunged from the toolkit of the scientists, just because they were proven to be inaccurate. Scientists love proving each other inaccurate. So yeah, first off, I don't know where they could come up with that. Second off, evolution. You ever notice these are all like really hot topics? I'm not getting into gun control. I'm not getting into abortion. I'm not going to get into religion or any of those sort of things, because that's like ordering pizza toppings. Nobody can agree. But evolution's a different thing. More is known about evolution than gravity. For example, we know how evolution works. It's been seen in the wild. Did you hear recently? Where was that place? Somewhere, I can't remember where it was. You can look it up though. Look for a lizard evolution. They actually took some lizards and put them on an island, and over the course of I can't remember, it was like 10 years or something like that. The lizards, not only did they wipe out the indigenous population on their own, not in a lab, like on their own, but they also broke down into 2 or 3 distinctive groups. One of them had a larger head than the other. They also developed the ability to eat fruit instead of insects, which is what they were originally supposed to eat. But there weren't a lot of insects on the island, but there was a lot of fruit. It was actually quite unprecedented, because usually evolution is seen in the lab, but it's not usually seen in normal everyday life because it takes so long. But it was actually quite impressive. So it's now been witnessed in the wild. The only technically non-wild feature was that humans did introduce the lizard to the island, but they just let him go and walked away and came back 10, 15 or whatever it was years later. So quite impressive. Evolution is a fact. It is not really open for debate. I mean, you can debate it. I guess it's open for debate. We have freedom of speech. You can debate whatever the hell you want. You can debate the Earth being spherical. You can say it's actually just flat if you want. You'd be wrong, but you can do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Debate all you want, but you'd be wrong. Evolution, some of the mechanisms of evolution are still being examined, and some of them have been discounted, but the general notion of evolution actually is not. Scientists don't debate that it exists. I mean, like some weirdo fringe ones over there, but like actual mainstream scientists, they debate sometimes the techniques behind it, though. That is sometimes under debate. The biggest issue I find that people have is this bizarre notion that like apes or monkeys or whatnot are just walking along, and then some of them just kind of like evolve into humans, and then why didn't these guys go away? Because these guys came from them, which is just, the first time I heard that, I thought it was nonsensical. I thought to myself, oh my God, somebody thought that? You thought that? How could you possibly think that? But then I realized that like nobody knows anything about evolution. Well, at least in the United States, you find that like for every 10 people, like 5 of them don't know anything about evolution. When I go to other countries, I find that people know all this stuff for some bizarre reason. I don't know, I guess they don't teach it here. Apes and humans have a common ancestor that does not exist anymore, that we diverged, we both evolved off of it. That's why we're both here. We didn't evolve from each other. We evolved from a common ancestor. Why isn't that obvious? But it isn't obvious. Apparently, I retract that it is obvious. Nobody else seems to get that. Well, a lot of people do. I'm sure you know it. I'm sure you've always known it. You, the person watching right now. But there's a lot of people that don't know it. It's really weird. Anyway, so that just boggles my mind. So I just wanted to get that out there. So God, I'm going to get flamed over that, aren't I? You know who you are. You folks that don't believe in evolution. You folks that think like radiometric dating is wrong. You're just going to flame me, aren't you? Well, I cite all of known science as my backup for this one. All science books, all scientists, every major university. That's what I cite for, and I am not an expert. But they are, and they agree with me. So there you go. How's that for an argument of authority? Technically speaking, I can't make an argument of authority because I'm not an authority. Well, I can't make a valid argument of authority. I can make an invalid one, which is a fallacy, which it is did. Now, in case anybody's curious, this is a bottle of Glenfiddich Solera Reserve. I'd like to point out for the record, it is Glenfiddich, like lock, Glenfiddich. It's not Glenfiddich. Where does that come from? Go to Scotland. I did a bunch of times. And the people there call it, well, they call it whiskey. They call it Glenfiddich. They don't call it Glenfiddich. Drive you absolutely nuts. Okay, so those are ramblings from me and so on. Oh, and yes, and by the way, did y'all notice that Dr. Busby, who has some crazy notions sometimes, don't get me wrong. Sorry, Dr. Busby, you have some odd notions. I mean, come on, you have some odd notions, right? You may be right, you may be wrong, but they're odd. But regardless, you are actually a physicist, Dr. Busby. I don't agree with half of what he says, but he is an actual physicist. Unlike myself, he's an actual physicist. And guess what he says about radon washout? That's why your rain's radioactive most of the time. He's right. Congratulations, Dr. Busby. Dr. Busby, thank you for pointing that out. Oh my God, how long have I been waiting for somebody with credentials? Why did it have to be Dr. Busby? No offense, Dr. Busby. Why couldn't it have been like, somebody else? Anyway, so there we are. This is Tom from anti-proton.com, and I await the flame, which must happen. It would be really cool, though, if I didn't get any for once. You know how much hate mail I get? It's terrible. Always by like weird people that can't speak English correctly. They're native English speakers, pardon me, but they say like weird stuff. When people flame you, they never can say it correctly. They always, I don't know what they say. Sometimes I'm not even sure if they're attacking me or not. So anyhow, bye bye.